Richard trying to scoot in there alone. It pinballs to the crease.
Let's get it.
Oh my God! Here we go.
You're listening to the Street Bullies podcast with your hosts, Derrik.
Now you gotta get it, Bobby.
John. Matt Casey.
Unnecessary, but totally necessary.
And Hoagie.
What's not to love?
What's happening, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Street Bullies. My name is Derrik.
And I'm Matt. That's right. John's not here. I think he and Hoagie are. Hoagie's moving in.
Hoagie's
moving apartments or something. I don't know.
And John's got something else going on. It's always something.
I have a theory. I think Hoagie and John are moving in together. I think that they've put their differences aside and they're ready to boogie.
Good for them. I think it'll make for a quality product here on air.
They got to fix their chemistry.
Right. Yeah. Move them in together. Just like, what was it? Giroux moved in with Briere, and look what happened. We've got a legend that we had to trade away because we wasted his prime.
Did you read, I mean, not to derail us too far, but did you read, Charlie O'Connor actually did a pretty good article about Joel Farabee and basically buying Couturier's house in Center City?
I didn't read it, but I did glance at it. I saw that it was posted, and I thought to myself, I'm like, of all guys to be like the father hen,
right,
rooster.
right. It was interesting. It's good to see, but
right.
God, you think about it. He's a 23-year-old millionaire. Like, you do
right.
you do you, Farabee.
God, what would I have done with $1 million? Even just $1 million at 23. Holy hell.
You know what I wouldn't be doing is sitting in a basement doing a podcast.
I'm up 6, actually.
Or would I?
No, but I did notice something funny too. Like in terms of the intro video, how many of those guys are still Flyers?
Oh God!
Because the one goal is Kevin Hayes getting by D'Angelo, if I'm not mistaken. Or no, not D'Angelo. I'm sorry, but I'm just thinking to myself, I'm like, we got to update that.
Yeah, I think we have to do an official update. But we're finally getting some highlights though, which is good. The last 2 years we haven't had any highlights.
Right. We are finally getting some highlights. We had a pretty decent week, I should say, last week in regards to specifically, let's just pinpoint one game here. The Ottawa, not the Ottawa game. Good God.
Don't go there.
No, it wasn't the Ottawa game.
Edmonton.
It was I'm talking about Dallas. And I'm going to talk some positives about Dallas first, because I think Mertitas tweeted it out. The last time that they scored 3 shorthanded goals, I think, was back in 1996.
Yeah, I was in my prime back then. It was great.
Right. I was 5. But I mean, results aside, overtime win, overtime loss. Okay, cool. We get a point out of it. The fact that we had 3 shorthanded goals in one game. I mean, speak to that.
I mean, it's nuts. And I think I go back to the early Richards era where we were a threat on the short whenever we were shorthanded. Now, obviously, it's not a position that you want to be in. Oh, Daddy Longleg dead. And it's not a position you want to be in. But at this point, the Flyers have 4 or 5 shorthanded goals on the season. 5 games into the thing. So that's unbelievable. And you're seeing it come from Konechny. You're seeing it come from Sean Walker.
Sean Walker. What? I love it.
And I think Cam's gotten a few chances. I mean, it's one of those things where, hey, it may not happen with regularity as the season goes on, but those are game changers. That's got to be a backbreaking kind of feeling, especially when we do it twice on one shift. Like Cam York, you take some penalties, buddy, because we're going to score on those things.
Right?
But I don't know. I can't remember a time where I've seen 3 shorthanded goals.
No, I mean, and in recent years, at least, the penalty kill has been pretty good in regards to generating scoring chances off the rush. I mean, going the opposite way, just bang, bang, those types of plays, which is great to see. But it's even nicer to see when we're integrating these younger players. They're getting used to that style too. So seeing them become accustomed to our penalty kill, the way that we do things on the penalty kill, and then also acclimating themselves in regards to attacking on the penalty kill when necessary, it results in great scoring chances, as we saw against Dallas. But
I think
to your point, go ahead.
the thing. That's the thing that, like, a few years ago under God, which coach did we Vino? I don't know, but just seeing the sag back penalty kill was painful versus the attack, which is like, I think back to the early Laviolette days. Like, that's what the penalty kill was in the early Laviolette days, and you're seeing results from it.
Right. And it's nice to see them take a more active approach as well, instead of playing, the turtle PK, basically just crawling back in the shell and waiting for a scoring chance from the other team to try to shut down. But to your point, you mentioned the Edmonton game, so let's get a little bit into that as well.
Well, hold on. So we went 2-0-1 this week overall with win against Edmonton. Who was the other win against?
Vancouver.
Yep. And then overtime loss against Dallas. But yeah, sorry, keep going.
No, you're good. I think, we typically don't break it down like game by game here, but like in terms of what we saw against a team like Edmonton with two of the top players in the in the whole world, being able to stymie them, I think they said McDavid was held to
zero shots.
Zero shots. Yeah, they held McDavid to 0 shots. We're seeing Sean Couturier get back to form, which is fantastic, considering all things considered. And then on top of that as well, taking care of business against a team like Vancouver, who obviously they should have beat, and they did, which is great. Yeah. Overall thoughts on this past week?
Two words come to mind, and it's speed and structure. And I think we're seeing, well, I would argue we had some structure last year. I just don't think we had the overall talent to like maximize that structure, nor the speed. Now we're actually seeing what happens when you have some legs and you have the second year of a regime and people who are bought in. We don't have people doing off-ice BS antics and, going ballistic on the bench. If you look at that second period of the Vancouver game, that was arguably one of the, and I don't even think we scored, but we had something like 20 shots or something absolutely ridiculous. And we completely just decimated that team. Now you look at Edmonton, and I have a sidebar on the Edmonton after we get through this, but if you look at the Edmonton game, at no point did I really feel that Edmonton was even pushing. I mean, maybe right as they scored that goal, and I think maybe they had a power play coming up or something, but I think maybe that's where Sean Walker ended up getting his first snipe.
I think so, yeah.
But you just see it, like, we're obviously not faster or more skilled than Draisaitl and McDavid, but what you have is, a former Selke winner, which everybody wanted to pile, feet of dirt over, thinking he was done. And you know what? I can't blame him. It's not like we've had a great track record with bringing people back from injury lately. Right. And you saw him on the ice for every single shift except for the shift where they scored, which is crazy. But to see him come back to form is amazing. And then also, like, let's say that Couturier did get winded. You know what? Throw Mr. Cates in there and let's see what he can do, because he did it last year. So you're just seeing a nice balance in there. And I'm not saying, oh, baby, we're contenders or anything like that. No, but you can just see a difference in the talent level with this team.
Right. And you bring up a fantastic point in terms of the guys that were here last year that suffered. I don't want to say suffered through it, but like they went through the ringer last year in regards to the quality of play on ice, injuries too. They now have progressed to a second year under the same system with the same structure, and they're starting to build upon that. So that's a really encouraging sign to see in terms of how they've started this year now. And let's see how they can maintain that success. I don't expect this type of pace over an 82-game season. However, it's encouraging at the very least to see the fact that they're coming out of the gate strong. They're showing that they have great structure, and that's a credit to Tortorella as well, and the whole coaching staff for that matter. But I think, it's a big step in the right direction when you can shut a guy like McDavid down, hands down. I
think overall it's a confidence booster for the team. 100%. I mean, he's amazing. Like, let's not sugarcoat it. Like, he is an amazing player. But what you're seeing is one unbelievable line, a second line that's decent, and I'm talking on the Edmonton side, and then a third and fourth line that bring a fat bag of nothing.
Right. It's the
And
West Coast Penguins.
right. And so if you find a way to stymie those two players, then you're looking good. And it's just an overall confidence thing. And I'll go back to the good start. I mean, we had the notorious strong start last year where I think we were 3-1 as well, or something like that.
Right.
But I think it was Carter Hart standing on his head and going nuts, and a couple lucky early season shots. I remember like the Noah Cates, I think in Tampa Bay, things like that. It just feels like a more mature team, even though it's an incredibly young team. And I also say that it's good to see the lines getting juggled up a little bit. Tippett wasn't going.
Oh, yeah.
Now he still hasn't found the back of the net, but like Tippett has a few assists now, and it's like,
oh yeah,
take those any day of the week, man. You don't have to be the finishing guy every time.
He had a decent break. We'll call it a breakaway. He had a decent breakaway. I think it was against Edmonton. Just got the shot off, and the goalie read it right, made the save. But like he's getting there. It reminds me of back when Lindblom was really starting to blossom, and he was getting scoring chance after scoring chance, but just couldn't find the back of the net. He's gonna break through eventually, and when he does, I could absolutely see those goals coming in waves. I mean, just 2-goal game here, 3 or 4 games in a row with a goal, something like that. Nothing that's going to shatter the earth, but like, good numbers that we expected him to put up from the first place. And just riding that wave of momentum once he does finally break the ice and get that first goal. But back, I mean, I'm not going to go crazy in depth about anything Vancouver related. That game was as expected. I think Hart played well enough in both games. I think he did a great job against Edmonton. We talked about it towards the end of the last episode in regards to who gets what games, but are you kind of shocked by the fact that they let Hart take the Vancouver and Edmonton game and then gave Dallas
I think that's actually what I projected on the episode last week. Arison didn't look, I think he wants at least one of those goals back, if not a few of them. Like clear line sighted shots, from the dots or above. Like, dude, you got to make that save. But on the flip side, his first game, I think there's enough, sort of excuses out there to make it legitimate, and not freak out too much. But it's a rare occasion where the Flyers were still in a position to win in the third in overtime, and it's one of those times where we actually outscored our mistakes, which unfortunately we're on the goalie's end. But you're gonna have a game every now and then, and keep in mind Dallas was in the final, the Western Conference Finals last year. So like, it's that's good competition there. I did want to go on a rant. I wanted to go on a rant for a second.
Here we go.
So after the Edmonton game, Cam had 2 goals, or he had a goal. I mean, I don't know, but he was the player of the game, and the chuckleheads at ESPN are interviewing him on the bench.
Oh my God.
And
I know where you're going here.
They're like, hey, so we know that you're probably a trade deadline candidate, and maybe even to this kind of team. And it's like, dude, my team just whooped this team's ass. Like, what are you talking about? I think of like the great Should McGavin. It's like, oh, what do I think of Happy Gilmore? I don't know. I was too busy winning. Like, so like, I looked at that and I was like, oh my God, read the room. And I think Hoagie and I were texting back and forth in the group chat. And I was like, did that really just happen? Like, did this guy ask like if he wants to get traded to the team that just got their asses kicked? I'm like, look, I'm not saying down the road that's not going to be relevant, but give the guy some credit, for God's sakes.
Yeah, that was a rough look for Butchergrass. I just think, like you said, read the room. Like, I get it, and I understand where he's coming from. He's certainly a trade deadline candidate, given how we anticipate this team to be when it gets to that point in the season. However, bringing it up, 3 games, 4 games, into the season,
3 or 4 games in,
like come on, buddy. Like,
come on, dude.
Yeah, like, be a little bit better.
Look at the standings, bro. We're number 1.
Right.
We're number 1.
We're number 1. It's ridiculous. Because I was part of that group chat too with everybody, and I brought that up. I'm like, Jesus, what are you doing, buddy? Like, what are you doing?
And I mean, look, I get it. We saw this with, you see it with superstars, and you see it with Crosby, as we have for 20 years at this point.
Forever.
Like, but it's like, oh, look how brilliantly he does that. And then, like, every time it's like they enter the neutral zone, it's like, okay, this Edmonton team can really pile it on quickly. It's like, but
they don't.
Can we give the Flyers a little credit here? For God's sakes.
I understand that like Edmonton is a media darling. It's got two fantastic players, again, two of the best in the world, and very easy topic to discuss during any game. Whether it's the Flyers, whether it's the Coyotes, or whether it's a juggernaut like Dallas or Vegas or anything like that. Sure. And that's going to be the hot topic during any game. However, when that team is getting beat, and may I add, soundly,
right,
I think it's time to start, spreading the love a little bit. Let's talk about some of these young kids for the Flyers, because that's the storyline there. Not everything is rebuild. There's quality prospects in this system that could garner some discussion on a national broadcast.
It's, I still will say this, and I know I'm beating a dead horse at this point, but the rebuild is just a different. We're in a different kind of rebuild than the Buffalo tear it down and wait 10 years to acquire draft picks kind of rebuild. And I think it's just tough for people to differentiate the fact that there are different levels of rebuild, and the path that some take isn't the path that all take. But I don't know. Overall, you see it happen every time, but it's really frustrating, especially when it's like that game wasn't even close. And I'm not saying the next one they play, and God knows when, won't, is going to be a wash anyway. But let us enjoy our moments, for God's sakes.
Right. I mean, and it's probably going to end up being short lived, because Vegas is coming up Tuesday night. That's going to be a tough one. Vegas started the season undefeated. First time in whatever. It is what it is. They're the defending Stanley Cup champions for a reason. Might be a rough outing for the Flyers. Yeah. But in terms of the games that they have ran away with, I mean, like Edmonton here, literally ran away with, because we're starting to notice how quick this team is in terms of their speed, in terms of their agility as well. Bobby Brink, I mean, adding him to the mix adds some speed. There was something else that came out in terms of advanced stats, and Morgan Frost is in like the 91st percentile in regards to speed, which take that as you will.
What of guys who have been in the box 4 or more games this year?
Quickest down to the locker room after the game. but nonetheless, I mean, how nice is it to see? Because how long has it been since we've had an actual fast team? We've always talked about the Chemo Tiemanens patrolling the blue line that aren't that fast anymore.
Right.
The Colburns, the Talbots, the guys that aren't known for their speed, but can play a sound game. But now we've got the young guns, the gunners that are going to just barrel down the ice as quick as they can.
And I'll even throw it out, to somebody like Atkinson too. He's just he's like a little water bug that you want to swat around, but you can't do it. And so what's the line? Has it been Atkinson, Couturier, and Tippett? Has that been
Tippett, or I thought they might have put Konechny up there? Maybe
I feel like no. I feel like Konechny's been playing with Brink and Kate. It must have been Kate's. I don't know.
Maybe it was Tippett, but I have a feeling he got demoted because of his play late. I could be completely wrong. I haven't been paying too much attention to the lines. I'll be completely honest.
But you look at that, because we have that line, and Couturier is not the fastest guy, but Atkinson's fast, and Tippett is sneaky fast. He's not necessarily shifty, but he's sneaky fast.
Right. Good straight line speed.
Right. And then you have somebody like Konechny, who is having one hell of a start, and he's all over the place. And then you have Brink. And again, I'll say it very proudly. I eat crow on this. Brink continues to really.
I'm done making eat on that.
Meanwhile, Forrester is kind of getting lost in the shuffle, in my opinion.
That's to the surprise of a lot of people, honestly.
Yeah. I don't think I don't know. I got a feeling we may be seeing Frost in plays of him, and they bump Watt into the wing. But
I could see it. Yeah, I think that's a way to get Frost back in the lineup, though. Let's be honest.
I think they got to. I think they have to at some point. Maybe they give it another game, but I think you got to, the message received loud and clear. I think you got to do it. It's better you do this now versus in front of his friends and family like last time.
Sure, like they do with Stanheim and Calgary too. I get it, and I understand, and I think I understand the premise in regards to wanting to kind of test this kid's mettle, because the big thing has been people think that he could be mentally weak in dealing with adversity and overcoming that. So sitting him for multiple games, not just one for a little bit of a reset, but multiple games, almost for a hard reboot, what's that going to do to his psyche? And what it should do is prove the mental toughness. It should prove that he's resilient enough to shake that off, learn something from it, come back in the lineup and pick up where he left off last season, because where he left off last season was a hell of a lot better than what we saw in the 1-2 games that he was in at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, where he was just lost. And to his credit though, like everyone was lost in that Ottawa game. Like nobody played well on that one. So I think the quote that Tortorella said, I'm paraphrasing at this point, was like he's not benched because he's playing bad. He's benched because other people are playing better. But it's like iron sharpens iron, baby. Like you got to get better than the next guy. And it's how good of it, how long has it been since we've had that? Where we have Wade Allison floundering in the minors. We have Frost, up there eating popcorn with Keith Jones, and it's just nice to have that, I guess, depth and knock on wood. But now we're seeing it tested a little bit too, at least on the defensive side. We're seeing it tested. But back to the speed, man. Like it's noticeable, but it's also like it's obviously not McDavid speed, which nothing is, but it's like. It's very structured speed. It's not running around like a bunch of chickens with your head cut off. It is very structured and very disciplined right now.
Right. There's no run and gun. There are set plays. There is structure to the offense, defense for that matter too. Like it's good to see that. And kind of reverting back to the whole Frost thing, I think that he's the guy that needs that structure. I think that you put him back in this system here and learning something from the benching, it could only be positive in my mind. Like maybe I'm going to be a bit, extreme on this, but I really do think that when he comes back, he's going to do really well. I hope so, at least. I don't want to be wrong on that.
No, we all want it to be, but on the flip side, it's like you got to ice the best team at this point.
Sure. And if he comes back in for either a Forrester or whoever it is, and he plays well, puts up an assist or a goal or whatever it might be, and just really looks like he learned something from sitting up in that press box, I think then it's his spot. Forrester can go back down to the AHL if he needs to, because I'd rather him go to the AHL than sit in the press box next to Keith Jones eating popcorn. I'd much rather him get that experience down there, get the minutes, get the time, and thrive in that role, as opposed to hey, sit up here, let's watch the game, break it down. Like you only learn so much by watching. You learn much more by getting in there and doing it. So let Frost do his thing now, because he's at that point where he's an NHLer. There's no sending him back down at all. That's not an option. So let him do his thing in the NHL. If he goes back and reverts back to the way he was the first game or two of the year, okay, then let's see what Forster's got.
Boy, watch.
Right.
One thing I wanted to bring up as well, I think the result of the speed is we're actually getting odd man rushes and points off the rush, versus I feel like the last 2 years it was like just a chore for us to get the puck in the zone, and then you just had to grind to get like a dirty goal. And there's a time and a place, and it's valuable to get that. But man, how nice is it just to have 2-on-1s, and our 2-on-1 ratio has got to be really solid right now.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we're getting very good at those. You have, the laser beam of Sean Walker coming in and scaring the bejesus out of goalies these days. And so you're just seeing. I don't want to call them easy goals, 'cause I know it's not easy, but just like simpler, not as hard-working goals that really can help a team out.
Fundamental goals. Goals that you can work on in practice, that it's not like you're preaching some ridiculous situation. You're going to encounter these types of situations throughout the game, and 9 out of 10 times it'll happen every game. So like I'll harp a little bit on Sean Walker. I didn't know what to expect, much like John had mentioned too, or anybody for that matter. Like I didn't know what to expect with him in the lineup, but I'll tell you what, I'm not even pleasantly surprised. I am enthralled. Like with the results, I could give two what's about the defense for him. Like if he's going to be the guy that's scoring goals, and he's going to be the guy that's the stud on the penalty kill, let him be that guy. If he can turn into what we thought a Gostisbehere could have been, maybe, like, cool, happy with that too.
Yeah, I just don't even. I still haven't even like grappled with what his like quote unquote game is. Is he like? Is he a Gostisbehere guy? Is he is he a stay at home guy? Is he an offensive? Like I have no idea what he is. And again,
Right.
I don't really care. What I know is that in the defensive zone, you don't hear his name called a lot, which is the
And that's
best
good.
sign you could probably have for a defenseman. It means they're not screwing up. But if he's
Right.
putting up some points and adding a little offense, hey, that's always great to have. And you love seeing it. It's like, when you get a goal, I don't think they've netted one yet, but like you get a goal from that fourth line. It's like that's awesome. And I feel the same way about the defense. You get a goal from a defenseman and not even a York or a Sanheim.
Right. It's a bonus.
You're getting a big bonus there.
Yeah. Well, they're also talking about how successful that PhD line's been. I mean, in terms of the fancy stats, in terms of the advanced analytics, they are one of the better lines in the NHL right now, which I think really speaks to. I know we'll laugh about it because let's be honest, fourth lines aren't meant to generate offense. They're meant to tire out the top lines of the other teams. However, seeing them do their job really well and generating some decent scoring chances for that matter also, I think it's a testament to what we've been talking about for the past 2 years in regards to Tortorella's potential mindset, building that team from the foundation up, meaning that fourth line, those bottom sixers that really are essential to a team if you want to have a successful team. So Hathaway, Paling, and Delorier, I think, make a fantastic fourth line, and I'm just ecstatic with how they've been so far.
I know we said it last week, but Paling's quick too, man. He's a fast skater. And actually, Hathaway, I feel like isn't that shabby either. But like,
right,
you just look at those guys and how disheartened are you if you're, it's deep into the third period and then you're like, oh my god, I got to go up against these freaking juggernauts. Like, come on. And they're just going to give you quote unquote honest hockey. Like they're not going to try to do much. They're going to get it deep and just grind you and then get off the ice.
Right. Because, I mean, let's be honest. I think the guy in question in that line that, like, if you were going to pick a guy on that line that's going to do something that toes the line, like, I'm probably going Hathaway there.
Yep.
Like, that's the one guy I'd be cautious about. Like, Delorier plays, for the most part, a clean game. He's just very physical. Yep. Paling, I think, just plays a quick game. And that's a great guy to have centering that line.
Do you think, I mean, I don't want to cause a crap storm here, but like, is Paling capable of more? Like, is he like is he a third line center? Like, do you think he has the ability to move, or it's like, I'm not saying I want to move the guy, but like,
yeah, wanting to move him and thinking he could move, two totally different things. Because I'd like to move him, but I think he's great where he's at,
right?
Given the chemistry of that line already. However, I would like to see him at 3C, maybe. Especially if Frost is going to be out of the lineup.
Yeah, I think in a pinch, it's the kind of thing where I wouldn't have an issue doing that. But again, I don't want to mess up that chemistry. But it's just one of those things where, it's almost like Lawton in a way where I have no problem if he plays wing, center, second line, third line, fourth line. He's just not a first line player right now.
Exactly. I mean, Lawton, I've said it for probably years at this point. He's a Swiss Army knife for this team. He can play up and down the lineup, either side of the ice, middle of the ice. Like, it doesn't matter. Obviously, I have my preference. I like him better on the wing. However, I'm not going to, get all pissy about it if he's going to play center for a game or two,
Well, can we transition from easy goals to dismal goals and that in the power play for a second?
Oh God,
Jesus!
I mean,
Christ,
it's historically bad at this point.
What are we, 1 for 18, 1 for 19?
Like, something along those lines.
It's not good.
It's a continuation of last year. Their power play was dismal last year, and yet again here we are. And it makes me think, like, I understand there's a grace period in regards to a new coaching staff, new players, but how much leash was it? Rocky Thompson, he's our power play guy.
Yeah.
Like, how much of a leash does he have right now?
It doesn't make sense because 5-on-5 we're doing fine. Obviously, man down we're doing fine.
Doing great, man down. Christ, I'll take that as a power play.
I think we had one or two late in the game in Edmonton where I was like, okay, this is looking a little better. But for the most part, for 2 games, and I even put Ottawa into this game as well, for 3 games, we could not even get the puck into the zone with control. And we're losing every single offensive zone face-off. And it's just trying to get the puck in and get possession is the hardest thing in the world for them to do. And I don't understand how that is the case. And then you see every other team just kind of like waltz in and like, making multiple and I'm just like,
They're setting up camp.
How is this possible?
Yeah. And I wonder too, because you can talk personnel, you can talk the guys who are on the power play right now not being fit for it. And you could even say it's for lack of talent. I completely understand that. However, you get a guy like Couturier back who's going to be a guy who can control the puck. He can keep it on his stick. You get a guy like Atkinson who can work the boards if need be, because he's quick enough, and then fill in the holes from there. Have a nice, decent offensive style defenseman, like whether you want to put Sanheim there, York. I'd prefer York, but puck movers, guys that can move the puck, surround Couturier with puck movers, because Couturier, if need be, can play a role where he can just control that and then find a guy who's streaking, find a guy who's open, whatever it might be, and then let them dish it around, and then have some guy just set up shop like a Konechny, or even like back in the day with Giroux. He would just set up right at that dot and fire that one-timer every single time, and it was just money.
Yeah, I mean, you're seeing that, the quote-unquote the Ovechkin position.
Right, exactly.
Which is dangerous. And you could see them, at least initially, trying to get Forster involved in doing exactly that, trying to filter it. But the problem is, it's like, I just still don't think we have the pure offensive skill to like match all of that. I can claim it's chemistry. Yeah, we can claim it's chemistry. We can claim it's positioning, all sorts of stuff. Like, they just need to figure something out where, at the very least, hey, you're getting some chances. And right now, we're not even getting the blue line. And so it's I'm hoping that with the team's been on the road. I assume they were off yesterday and practiced today in Vegas. Let's hope that they spent some time on some power play initiatives there, so we can stop griping about that at a 5% click.
Right. And I mean, we are also seeing too, like, in terms of the defense, there are limited options for defenders to put on the power play. You got Sanheim and York. You could potentially put I'd like to see Walker. Maybe let's see how he does on the power play. But I mean, aside from that, Andre,
I think that's where we want him to be. Quite frankly, he's just not ready.
The 5-on-5 time is what concerns me, because he's just, you're right, he's not ready, and nothing wrong with that. It's his first year over here, so I mean, there's going to be some growing pains. I think he needs to work those out before he becomes a mainstay, in the lineup, which, again, completely fine. But two, think about the options that we have, given that Ristolainen's out, given that now Mark Stahl is out as well. There's not going to be any sighting of Ryan Ellis either. So I mean, what are our options in Lehigh Valley?
I mean, I don't know. I think the one thing we got to consider is Zamula. We got a kid.
Yeah, we're coming up to make the change to our PJs now.
Nice. I think we have to consider Zamula. Do I think he's a great option? No, but the guy obviously has a knack for making some plays here and there. I've actually been pleasantly surprised with Zamula.
I have too. He's had his rough spots, but I mean, for the most part, I think he's been playing well. That poke check at the blue line in that first game was amazing. It was fantastic.
It was great. I think he's finally kind of using his size and whatnot. But like right now with the defense, I'm getting more and more concerned with Ristolainen. Like, we went from like, he's ready to go, to okay, it's been 2 weeks. It's been 2 weeks and this guy hasn't played a game yet.
We should know, though, with this medical staff.
Right. And now with Stahl out, all of a sudden, this decor is looking a little thin. And the idea of Andre and Zamula in there together, like, that's just not going to be a winning recipe.
No.
On the flip side, I think Sanheim's been great. I think York's been great. And who else we have? Walker and
Sealer.
Sealer's making his money, man.
His right hook on Hakanpää against Dallas. Good God.
Yeah.
That was entertaining. And it sucks to cancel it out of power play, but
what an unsung hero Sealer is, man.
It's like, he's the reason, and I know this is going to sound ridiculous, he's the reason Cinderella wrote that song. You don't know what you got till it's gone. Even though it predates him. Think about it, though. He's not going to be here past next year. Like, this is the last year of his contract, correct?
I assume so. Yeah, I can't imagine we're extending him, but
No, I don't think they will either. But like, think about it too. We're gonna look next year, and there's gonna be another Andre or somebody else, and we're gonna be like, "Oh shit, man, Sealer would have made that play, or Sealer would have decked that guy."
Right. But you look at the options now. If Ristolainen is not ready to go, then we're in with Zamula and what's
our only other options are calling somebody up, and those people you're looking at Adam Ginning, you're looking at Ronnie Attard, maybe Helga Grans or a Victor Mete. Like, not great options.
No,
I'll be honest.
No. I forgot about Ronnie Attard.
I wouldn't be upset seeing him get a couple stretches, maybe a few games up here.
But on the flip side, though, you look at it and, hey, man, like, this is the opportunity these guys have been waiting for. It's like, all right, you have a chance. You can go out and grab it, or you can fade into the background here.
Right. Yeah, and that's the big thing, is that we saw it kind of on offense last year, where you wanted the young kids to come up, grab their spot, make their impact. You're going to see it on the blue line this year, because now that Provorov's gone, there is plenty of ice time to go around. And yeah, Sanheim's doing a pretty good job of, I'll say he's doing a very good job of eating up that ice time. He's doing a fantastic job in terms of what my expectations were. So I'll give it to him. I'm as big a Sanheim critic as they come, but I mean, he's doing a great job. And so is York. I think those two together right now are fantastic, which leads me to believe that they're going to stay together even when Ristolainen comes back. I could see Risto getting paired with maybe a Walker on the second pairing. Like, I'd be cool with that. Yeah.
Is Walker a lefty?
I don't know that. I don't know if he is or not.
I think he's a righty for some reason, but I don't know.
I'll tell you what. I might be able to tell you here in a second. Regardless, I mean, those two together, I think, would make the sense just from a skill standpoint. I think that, you've got to keep a guy like Sealer on that bottom pair. He is a right-handed shot. So two righties on the same pair.
Yeah, it's got to be rough. But I think, all right, so let's say that Andre and Zamula both draw in the lineup. I think you got to put one with Sealer and one with Walker. You can't pair those two together.
Right. I think if you're going to talk about which pair, and I mean, when it gets to the second and third pair, you can probably distribute those minutes pretty equally, just given the overall skill of the guys. But for, namesake here, I think Walker has to stay on the second pairing if they're going to split between him and Sealer. And if you're going to put Sealer on the bottom pair, keep him on the bottom pair, I think Andre's the odd man out. I think Zamula and Sealer end up on the third pair.
Yeah. Yeah. You're saying if Bristow comes back, you're saying.
Right. Now, again, that's still two right-handed defensemen on a pairing, but, it's worth a shot in a season where we're going to still be working out kinks like we were last year.
Yeah.
Might not be a terrible idea to kind of see what type of chemistry those two might have.
Yeah, I think that's what you're going to, overall, I'm making the assumption that if Ristow's not back against Vegas, and again, the dreaded 11 o'clock time slot, like somebody's scheduling should just be taken out and beaten with a rubber hose. But, there's no chance I'm making it up, but I'll wake up at like 2 a.m. to go to the bathroom and look at the score of the game. Right. Will still be on. I'll be like, ooh, let me
double overtime.
So I don't know. I think that long-winded way of saying I'm concerned about the defensive depth, but we're going to see. We're going to see if the young guys can step up.
Right. Absolutely. And I think, we knew this was going to happen. Stahl was going to be out of the lineup, whether it was by just skill demotion or injury. He's up there in age. Things happen. We get it. But we're not going to see a guy come up at this point, I think, in my mind, just because, unless it's for a seventh defenseman spot, which is fine. However, without knowing how the Phantoms are doing right now, without knowing how guys like Ginning, Attard, and those guys are doing, it's tough for me to make an educated guess as to who goes up first. My mind, I'd say Attard, just because he's been here, unless they really want to see what a guy like Ginning has, which not going to be upset about. I wasn't thrilled or wowed by his play in preseason, but I think that, get him some regular season minutes against some quality NHL teams, and you could really see what you got in a guy like him.
Yeah. What else we got? What else we got on the agenda here?
I'll be completely honest. The only other thing, nothing, honestly. It wasn't a ton to talk about. It's good, obviously, having stuff to talk about instead of scraping the bottom of the barrel during the offseason. But you know, I'm thrilled with how the team started. I'm very happy.
Yeah. I think going into week 3 of the season, you know, it's tough to be mad, and you know, there's going to be tougher times ahead, I'm sure. But you know, I also think that this team has also like managed the expectations to a point from the top down that we all know we're not expecting a whole lot here.
Right.
But you know, it's been a pleasant surprise against some decent competition thus far.
Right. And I mean, you know, to put it as simply as I can, like playing with house money right now. You know, and I think that's fantastic that they're doing a great job. So if they can maintain that level of success, fantastic. I don't expect them to, so I'm not going to be disappointed if they don't. Just, you know, I'm kind of along for the ride and enjoying it when I can.
Yeah, I think, you know, so looking ahead, what we have is you know, the dreaded 11 o'clock ESPN Plus game tomorrow night against Vegas. Interesting to see how that goes. Then you have Thursday back home against the Wild. God damn, another ESPN Plus game? I feel like watching these on my computer.
Right.
And then we're home against Anaheim. Is Anaheim just as dismal as I remember them being?
Probably.
No.
I think they're doing all right, but not Flyers all right.
So what's your prediction for the week here?
Vegas, Minnesota, Anaheim. I think they're dropping 2 of them. I think we can only ride this high for so long. I think we're dropping the Vegas game. I could see us dropping Anaheim too.
Wow.
That's
you think it's a letdown game? Like, oh, we played all
I think it's a letdown game. Yeah, like you lose to Vegas, then you come back and win one against Minnesota, maybe, or even an overtime loss. Like I think they'll get at least a point or 2. But I just, you know, I was wrong last week about like damn near every game aside from I think I picked Edmonton. I think I picked the Edmonton game, but I can't remember. Either way, I'm probably going to be wrong about this week, but I'll say 1-2-0.
Okay. I'm going to go I can't go 1-1-1 again because I did that last week. Such a wuss move.
I mean, you still could.
Technically. I'm going 2-1. I'm going 2-1.
Look at you, forever the optimist.
Yeah. I like an afternoon game against Anaheim.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Saturday, right?
Yeah, Saturday game. I was thinking about bringing the kids to that one too, but then I was like, I'm not going to do that.
We're going to be in Boyertown with my wife's college friends and their husbands and friends, and the other guy that is a hockey fan. He's a Devils fan. I'm like, damn it.
Yeah, I don't mind Devils fans as much as I mind Rangers fans.
No,
Rangers fans are freaking worse.
I'm just glad her friends have husbands that enjoy hockey like I do.
Right.
Because like the other 2 are big into music. They like go and do their own gigs, and the one's an incredible music. Both of them, I'll be honest, are incredible musicians. And the one plays like the DC circuit and actually played with someone really famous. I can't remember who.
Depeche Mode? Was it Depeche Mode?
I think it was Phil Collins. No,
no way. Genesis or Phil Solo.
He's the guy that did the drums. But you know, it's nice because like New Year's Eve when they played years ago, like we were all at their one house, and me and him were sitting down watching the Flyers, and we're talking hockey, and I'm like, I'm glad I have somebody that understands, because the other guys are like, here you do a podcast, right? I'm like, Yep,
sure do.
Sure do. It's a lot of fun.
Well, as long as it's not raining, I'll be at least a little bit happier than I've been in the last couple of days. So
yeah.
So, all right, we're good.
Right. Yeah, we are good. We're gonna sign off here for this week. We're not gonna give you the normal spiel, just because I think we're done with that. I might just stop. I only ask John because I know it pisses him off, but yeah. Aside from that, obviously check out our affiliates too. Guys over at Flyers High and Wide, they're on Twitter at FlyersHW. Guys over at the 5 Minute Major Podcast as well, they're on Twitter at 5 Min Major Pod. Jesus Christ, it's
that'll get some good conversions there.
Yeah, coffee's already wearing off. Jesus Christ, but yeah, that's it for us this week. Casey, you want to let them know where they can find you?
On X.
I did say Twitter. I said Twitter, not X.
Pod Street Casey on X.
Pod Street Casey on X. Pod Street Bob on X.
I feel like Hoagie's kind of the only one really on X. Like,
yeah. I'm more of a surfer on X.
I made a
don't,
conscious decision to delete it from my phone because I was spending way too much time. So I could still have it on my desktop, but like,
Oh yeah.
or on my laptop. But like, I was like, I'm spending way too much time on this thing.
Oh yeah. Like if I'm at work and I'm going to the bathroom, I'm like surfing it, and I'm like, I'm done peeing for like 5 minutes, and I'm just like mindlessly scrolling. Someone walks in, you taking a shit in there? No.
On
But
that note,
on that note, bye.